You're listening to Podketeers.
Welcome to episode 423 of Podketeers. Comic-Con just wrapped up in San Diego, and in this episode we go over the announcements from the Marvel animation and live-action panels. There's a lot to cover here, so we're going to get this episode started. So before we do, we just want to remind you that we'd love to hear what your thoughts are on anything that we talk about in this episode. You can join the conversation over on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. Just search for Podketeers if you're not yet following us. But we'd love for you to join us over on our Discord server. Joining the community is super simple. Just head over to podketeers.com/423 and click on the Discord logo, or you can click on the link in our pinned IG story. Of course, before we begin, we'd like to send a special shout out to an awesome group of people known as the FGP Squad, our podcast Fairy Godparents, because it's their support via Patreon that help make these episodes of Podketeers possible. As part of the FGP Squad family, you get some additional perks like exclusive discount codes for Podketeers gear, additional content like the Podketeers After Show, and access to our happy hour calls, just to name a few. For more information on how you can become part of the FGP Squad family, we invite you to check out podketeers.com/FGP, and as always, a super special thank you goes out to the FGP Squad for their continued support. So that's it. That's going to wrap up the intro. We're going to get this thing started. If this is your first time hanging out with us, welcome. We hope that you enjoy this episode and that you come back for more. And of course, if you've been hanging with us for some time, welcome back, friends. Here is episode 423 of Podketeers.
Bites the dust.
And another one. And another one.
Oh. Just when you thought I was going to come back.
That's it, man. You gotta drop it in.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You gotta,
especially any queen.
You know this podcast, man. We're all music freaks on this podcast.
Always
so
desired.
You can't drop a line from a Queen song and not expect somebody to continue that.
Right. It's
That's
like
true.
the FGP Squad's second name is Funky Group of People for funky music. That's what it's for, right?
That funky group of people.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun. We'll put it to the theme of Funky Cold Medina.
That's what I'm talking about.
How's it going, man?
Good. I just I'm a little bit late to the game because I heard you guys were talking about last week, but I just wrapped up Miss Marvel myself, and man, pleasantly surprised, I should say.
Nice. All right, so your thoughts on the series, your thoughts on the reveals, and how do you think this is going to affect the MCU going forward?
Since you guys already did the spoilers last week, I'm just gonna join in real quick, like as a continuation to your ending last week.
Spoilers!
You've been warned.
Just a short little.
Yep.
When Melissa talked about that, and it's weird when I watched it. Okay, we're already jumping to the end of the last episode of Miss Marvel, but when I watched that last part, I didn't catch the theme. But then all of a sudden, I felt like I knew when he dropped the word, a mutation. I had the friend. I already had the feelings of like, whoa, wait a sec. What did I just hear the right thing? And I rewinded it, or I should say, kids, I pressed the back button on my Apple TV. And when it went back, it jumped to that scene, and then I heard it. And I got even more giddy, just like you guys. I was like, oh, it's there. It's happened. Oh, my God. This is, as Heyzen would say, this is not a warning. This is not drill. It's real. So, yeah, I was stoked. And to go backwards, I just Quentin Tarantino to you guys. As I watched each episode, I think there's a lot of things I agree with. A coming-of-age story told with a cultural twist, really well done. And I think what caught to me, speaking of a Tarantino twist, it's kind of flipping the story because you're going forward but to go backward, which is very interesting, with these really cool music comebacks from different cultural backgrounds, but also I don't know, like electronic sounds, which I got the vibes from on the soundtrack, which I liked. And the story itself with the characters, Marvel did it again, where I didn't really feel like I was gonna bond with anybody in the show, but all the characters gave me a story I liked. I mean, I was surprised with even the brother of Miss Marvel. I mean, he didn't seem like a character I was gonna like pretty quickly, because it was like buying into I'll hate to say it, to that culture too much, where they're like kind of like, oh, you're the sister, you have to take care of this stuff. But no, it all kind of played together at the end, and man, I felt kind of nostalgic with the high school vibes going on too. That was cool. And yeah, like just get to her superhero powers are like, they're pretty mysterious and just straight out, like, you're kind of buying into the whole fact of this mutant, even though, like you mentioned, Heyzen, that's not her background in the comic books, but this could play as a mutant. Like, it has this different type of way of how they use their power. And I say she used it wisely in this first season, which was pretty cool, man. And the introduction, I would say this is a successful, we'll drop in there, even though this is Miss Marvel, it was more successful than another backstory that you talk about a lot of, a movie for someone else with Marvel in their name.
Yeah, I mean, everything you said, it was just done so well. And it's so crazy because, I mean, at this point, I started thinking about it a little bit more. The soundtrack, by the way, is amazing. If you have an opportunity to listen to the soundtrack, go on your favorite music provider, Spotify, Apple Music, whatever, and listen to the soundtrack, because it is so freaking good. But I started thinking about it after we talked about it, and Kamran, I don't know, I get these like Killmonger vibes from him. Like, he ended up leaving at the end, and he's like, hey, thanks, I'm going to escape and everything. But he's got this anti-hero vibe to him where, like, he's been scorned, and like, it feels like he's owed something, but he's not, and like, he lost everything, but he hasn't. And like, I don't know, like, I feel like we're going to see him again in some capacity, and I think we're going to end up seeing him as a villain the next time we do.
It's plausible. Yeah.
I don't know. Again, if you haven't had an opportunity to watch Miss Marvel on Disney Plus, recommended. Oh, yeah. I'm such a Marvel stan. I don't even care. Okay, I'm gonna watch all this. I'm gonna watch everything that they put out there on Disney Plus. Talk whatever you want about it. They're all amazing to me. I'm not getting paid to say this. I just love it. I love the storytelling. I love what they're doing with the characters. I will be the first to admit that there were times where things just got a little confusing because the storytelling didn't feel like it was going anywhere with some of the series. And as this has been building out, we've been talking a lot about, where we're going in Phase 4 and where Phase 4 is taking us. And, this weekend was Comic-Con. And so there's a lot to talk about in Comic-Con because I've been saying a lot, like, as we go through Phase 4, as we build Phase 4, there's no more building Phase 4, man. As far as we know, there's 2 more projects that are coming into Phase 4. So Kevin Feige comes out. That I don't even know where to start. There's so much to talk about. Okay, so let's talk about with the cartoon stuff, all the animated series that were announced. Let's talk about all that, because that was a good chunk of Comic-Con to begin with. Then we'll go into the live action stuff. So let's flip it a little bit. So they have the Marvel animation panel, right? And they announce trailers, they announce the series, we get dates for some of the stuff that's coming. First thing that we get a glimpse of is I Am Groot. Yeah. We get a trailer for I Am Groot. 5 animated shorts that are coming to Disney Plus starting in August. So we're a few weeks away from this debuting on Disney Plus. Thoughts on I Am Groot and what we've seen so far?
Yay! He's so cute. I'm excited. We're gonna see a little bit more of Groot because he's that one character that is just fascinating. One line, but it's fascinating what he could do. So, I mean, I'm excited. And they're adorable. adorable. He's adorable. Oh my gosh. It's cute.
I don't know if I'm wrong on this, but this might be the only trailer I've ever seen where someone actually farts on a trailer. So
You added to the minivan talk. There you go, kids, for the minivan. Yeah,
That's right.
I've never seen that happen in a trailer, especially a Disney trailer. No, wait. Did they do that in the Lion King trailer?
I think the Pumbaa. You're right, Pumbaa. I don't know if that's in the trailer
jokes
though.
about it, but I don't remember it.
I mean, it's in the movie.
I think you're
that's
right.
for sure.
This might be the first time where they actually show it happening.
I-
And it's a
for me-
leaf.
And it's an amazing thing. That's what I was about to say. I wish that happened when I had, too many bean burritos or whatever at Taco Bell listed.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're natural like Groot, right, you would expect something that cute. Like, that's what Melissa was leading on to, is that what Melissa says, he farts like awesomeness. So that's the cutest thing ever, right? So,
yeah.
and on that part scene, if you watch the trailer, what really got to me too is that like the little things, maybe you'll be able to explain this better, Heyzen. I don't know what those beans are, but they like shoot up confetti too, which makes me feel super excited. I'm like, where did the confetti come from in this trailer? Like, how is this going on right now? And then I mean, it just gets better and better. And to know that they're shorts, so I mean, and once again, it gives you a little bit more excitement because you're like, okay, I'm gonna be able to binge this out real fast and like get all I can consume with Marvel. And then the music, I'm like looking, there's like a cool little jammy tune again. I'm like, here we go, Marvel, and your trailers having. I don't think it's a song of any like licensing. I just think it's a song they made, and it's catchy as heck. It's just Groot, he knows how to jam it. That's for sure.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know what those things are, but they seem super happy.
Onions.
Like you said, there was confetti. They start eating the leaf that comes out, which was
Yeah.
just odd. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know exactly how to feel about this because technically they are eating. So, what?
I mean,
Change.
plants do need fertilizer, Hazen. I'm just saying that comes
I guess every organism has to eat something, right? So,
Right.
yeah, I mean, scientifically speaking, all right, yeah, that happens. But I don't know what they are. I think they're new to the animated series, and I'm excited. The attendees at Comic-Con had an opportunity to watch, I believe, the first episode of the series called Groot Takes a Bath. And so there isn't a leak, there isn't anything, on Disney Plus to tease it. All we have is a trailer so far. But, I mean, we're only a couple weeks away, and I'm excited for this. Like you said, Groot's super cute. For anyone that doubts, or doesn't think Groot is cute and thinks that you can't build a series or anything like that with a one-line character. Well, look, Wally's amazing, and that entire film, all he says is Wally. So
Good point.
there you go.
Yep.
So there you go. Cool. So moving on, we got an announcement for Spider-Man Freshman Year, which is coming in 2024. I gotta tell you, man, I am all sorts of confused on this one because, all right, so give me your thoughts, and then I'll tell you why it's so confusing to me.
Well, for me, the only comment I got was something like it has like a 60s yet retro vibe, I heard, or something like that to it, and that it's gonna tie in some of our older characters, like to see someone like, I guess, Doc Ock might make an appearance in this. So I'm intrigued, and to know already that it might not just be one season is pretty interesting too. That's all I'm at. That's where I'm at. Just intrigued.
Yeah. Mel, any thoughts on this one?
You know what? It just seems like it's going to be fun. And kind of like, I want to say kind of like What If? But if Spidey had his own?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm getting out of it.
So that's an interesting comment. So I'm going to tell you why it's confusing and why I like Mel's comment. One, I've heard two different reports on when this series is taking place. The first report is that it's taking place leading to the event of Spider-Man Homecoming, which makes absolute sense in the canon of the MCU because, he's a freshman, he's kind of leading up to this, big thing that's going to happen in his life. So that tracks. But then the new report that came out is that this is taking place prior to Captain America Civil War. And I'm not exactly sure how much levity that comment has, but I think it came from an official Disney source. And so that's what's confusing, that if it takes place during that time frame, that means Spider-Man has been a freshman for years, leading up to Homecoming. And so that's the first thing that kind of breaks, continuity in the MCU. The second thing is what you mentioned, Larry, is that there are glimpses at some of these old school characters that we've had before, some of these old school villains. We got some Doc Ock that's going to be appearing in this one, Rhino, Scorpion, Speed Demon, Tarantula. Like, these are like quintessential Spidey villains, right? And so the fact that they're appearing in this one, and they said that this is leading up to Homecoming, that doesn't make sense because Doc Ock wasn't a part of what led into Homecoming. Like, he didn't even know, like, there was a Doc Ock until Far From Home. So there's a lot of competing ideas and theories about where this is going. The show is going to debut sometime in 2024, so we're a bit away at this point from seeing anything. I have a theory about, and I'll talk about this more when we get to the live panel stuff, but I have a theory about what they released and why they released it here. But and as far as a second season, they have already greenlit Spider-Man sophomore year. So we don't even know what this one's going to be like, and we're already getting a sophomore year. So interesting. I'm intrigued. We got a glimpse of his new homemade suit. That was pretty interesting to see because it looks like it's like a hockey jersey. He's got like sweatpants and some knee pads. He looks very similar to Miles, but in traditional Spidey colors. And he's got a backpack, which I guess has like his web juice hanging from under his backpack in the back. So, America, no, it doesn't come out of his butt. It comes out of this like little tank of web juice. Hey, another one for the minivan. Yes, score. So yeah, it's an interesting costume. Apparently, we're gonna get several different versions of his suit throughout the series. And I mean, it's a good way to introduce people to like traditional Spidey, traditional villains. I don't know exactly where they're going to be taking the storyline from, but from the images and from the descriptions that we've seen so far, Mel, you brought up a really great point. It feels like it's a what if Spider-Man verse version. Right? Yeah. Because he's hooking up with like Norman Osborn in this version. Harry Osborn's a really big part of it.
Everyone.
And yeah, it really does feel like a multiverse version of Spider-Man whose story we're seeing pan out here. Like, it doesn't feel like it can be what's reported, right? That it's leading up to Homecoming. It could be leading to Civil War, but in a different universe.
Right.
That just at the end, he just happens to find out it's like, oh, wow, there's another Spider-Man, and this is what's happening in his universe. Like, he's fighting this guy Mysterio or something. So maybe, I don't know, it's kind of confusing at this point. But nonetheless, I'm going to watch it.
Oh, yeah.
So
we all will.
Yeah, there's nothing holding me back from watching it because, again, Marvel stan. So there you go.
Yep.
Let's see what else. What If? We got an announcement that we're getting season 2 of What If. Dude. Have you seen the trailer for What If season 2?
I have not. Ooh, I missed out.
There's some good imagery in there. They released a trailer. It's not that many days old, which is probably why you didn't realize it was out. I'm going to put it in the blog post for the episode, but there's some really good imagery in there. And I believe that the attendees at Comic-Con had an opportunity to watch episode 1, in which Captain Carter goes up against the Hydra Stomper. And the theory is that in the Hydra Stomper, there was a version of Captain America that was controlled by Hydra. It was the Winter Soldier version of Captain America. So there's some imagery of Bucky becoming Captain America. There's some imagery of like Iron Man teaming. I mean, it's so good. Like, what if season 1 was amazing?
Was awesome. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Set the bar for animation, I think, for Marvel, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. And so now with What If season 2, I'm anticipating it so much more because when What If first came out, I remember we talked about how, we were thinking like, well, how is this going to influence the MCU? Is it going to be canon? Is it this? And then we found out that almost all of it was canon in the MCU
Right?
at some point because it was part of the multiverse. So how is this going to play into the multiverse? So I'm so freaking excited because all it's doing is it's giving us a glimpse of all the movies that are coming in the next phases. So
Right.
give me more What If, man. What If
Yeah,
season
yeah.
3, I think, is already greenlit at this point. So I'm excited for this one. It's coming in 2023. Yes, more What If, more. Please, more. And we talked about this too when the first one came out, right? That because it's all theoretical, and with the opening of the multiverse, you theoretically have What If season 97, and you always have fresh stories because it's
Yep.
all theoretical. So, man, I'm so for this. I can't even begin to describe it. I can't.
It's just we're being
Dying
spoiled.
here. Seriously. Come on, Feige. I love you. Do you think he heard me?
Maybe.
A little bit louder.
I hope so.
I mean,
I hope so.
It's a possibility. He hears a lot.
I'm just going to print out a t-shirt next time I go to the parks that says, I love you, Kevin Feige.
Savior. Chosen one.
Let's see. Oh, X-Men 97. Hello. Goodbye. I'm done here. This is amazing.
Nostalgia.
I was such a huge fan of this one in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Your thoughts on this one?
Well, I mean, I heard, just like I mentioned earlier, when they did the panel, that they played the new version of the song. What we've been hearing for the main theme, and the crowd kind of like lost it.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine, seeing. They were saying what I can see online that the storyboards looked really good, and if you're looking forward to like something that just brings you back to where the show was, get ready. You're back in it, and this is gonna feel really familiar, but with all the enhancement of Marvel animation behind it, which gets me more hyped, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nostalgia and just what exactly what you just mentioned is what we could get, the possibilities. I'm just so excited. I mean, yes, you could watch the originals, but to get more out of what was one of the best shows in the 90s, yes. Like, I'm curious. I mean, I don't think we're going to get the information or if we could get it anywhere. But I'm so curious, once this show drops, how many people are going to be watching this for nostalgia's sake?
I don't know. I mean, if they're Disney Plus numbers, it's hard to say because Disney Plus doesn't really release those types of numbers, and there's a good reason why, right? I don't think any streaming service releases exact numbers. They release estimates just to kind of get, some buzz going around some TV shows, but that's an interesting thing to keep in mind. I would love to know those numbers because, the X-Men cartoon back in the 90s was such a huge part of so many people's lives. In many cases, I think it was the introduction that people had into the X-Men and into comics to begin with. And there was so many kids talking about it that you almost had to watch it, so that you had something to talk about with other kids.
Yep.
So I love the fact that when they showed the preview, when they showed the animatics and the screenshots of the characters, like the entire roster's back, the original roster.
Yeah,
like I love that Remy's back.
cool.
Like I love Gambit. I love seeing him there. Morph is back. We're gonna get some Cable, Bishop, Nightcrawler. There's some New Mutants that weren't there originally that we're gonna see as part of this one. I love the fact that it's taking place immediately after the events of the original run, where Professor X goes up into space, and now Magneto's leading the X-Men, because why not? You know, Professor X isn't there, so why not? So that's going to be interesting. Yeah, this one is definitely one that I think we're going to keep our eyes on. Like, anytime I get to see Wolverine be, smarty pants, against anybody, it's fantastic.
We're going to get the image that we've all been wanting, like, in the show, with him sitting in bed.
Maybe.
With the picture.
Maybe.
Please do that. The meme that took
coming.
over the world.
Yeah, I mean, we might finally get that. And especially considering that, I don't know, I have so many thoughts on this one, because the animation style looks exactly the same. You know, and animation has evolved so much in the last 2-3 decades that for them to go back to this style is already an instant shot of nostalgia, right? On top of that, you know, the fact that the entire cast minus Professor X, which I think at some point is going to come back anyway, we get to hear Wolverine being snarky. You know, I don't know, dude. It feels like that warm hug coming home from school, from the afternoon cartoons that you had a chance to watch.
Are we gonna get families to, like, this is what we need? This is like, we've been wanting the TGIF back. This is when people have the chance to be like, look, you can watch the show after you do your homework. Then we'll watch X-Men 97.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So then you're like, they're just like A, B, C, D. You know,
right? Like,
take that note, kids
hurry.
in the van. Take the notes.
Honestly, yeah. No, but for real, though, like, honestly, there's a part of me that hopes they continue what they've been doing with the Marvel shows, and that they release the episodes weekly instead of dropping them all at once, because then you get that little bit of nostalgia back as well. And if they took it a step further and they didn't decide to premiere everything, well, they released most live action on Podketeers Wednesday, because Kevin was like, you know what, that's when we're going to get the most traction. God. And then cartoons like on Tuesdays and stuff. So, I mean, I get it. But if they took it a step further and they were like, look, we're going to air this at 5 p.m. every Tuesday, then come on. Come on. It's like right kinda. There, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I love it. I'm looking forward to this one. Super fun. Let's see. Marvel Zombies.
Yes.
I was about to say, Melissa. Speaking of what if.
Yeah.
I heard our prayers.
So Marvel Zombies, Mel called this one when she was like, we need a whole show about zombies. Mel, you got your wish. Kevin was like, I love this, Mel.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you.
Let's do this. There's a couple screenshots that have gone around from this particular part of the panel. And in the screenshot, it looks like we're getting Yelena, Kate Bishop, Jimmy Woo doing some card tricks, thinking he's like Gambit or something. Shang-Chi, Miss Marvel, Death Dealer, Red Guardian, and Katie, also from Shang-Chi, all teaming up. Like, this is ragtag bunch of heroes getting together. They're not ragtag heroes. They're all pretty well established. I just didn't have another term for it. Yeah. So anybody offended by the ragtag heroes part of it, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it.
4 heroes.
Yeah. All these well-established heroes. Well, except for Red Guard. Anyway, the point is they're all teaming up to fight zombie versions of other superheroes. So there's another shot where they show zombie Wanda. I think it's Ghost. I don't know. Hawkeye, Okoye. I think it's Abomination, Captain Marvel, and Captain America. And in the background, there's a couple of other characters whose eyes are lit up. You can't tell who those are. There's one that looks like it's got like goggles or glasses on top of their head. And for some odd reason, the first person I thought of was Rogue from the X-Men. So I don't know if that's who that is, but I mean, this is exciting because we got Zombie Captain America, and y'all know that every time there's a new show on Disney Plus, they start bringing those characters over to California Adventure. So are
Yep.
we getting one step closer to getting our Marvel zombie maze?
Yes.
Oh man, that'd be.
We are. We are. Oh, man. And watch. I have a feeling we're going to see Zombie Wanda. I don't know
Oh, yeah.
why, but she's the one that's like, she was the most gruesome. I'm just excited.
I mean, if they did a Marvel night for the villains, where instead of like for Oogie Boogie Bash or something, where instead of all the other characters, all you got on Avengers Campus were the zombie versions of Cap, Wanda, Strange, like how awesome would that be?
That would be my Christmas.
You just play the music from What If, or you play from the zombie show, and yeah, it would be Christmas for you, right?
That would be awesome.
If that happens, we'll just have to give a moment of silence to my checking account because
Right, that
totally
too.
dead by the time. I'll have to go twice. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
It's like,
Just like
here's my
once-
here's
Yeah.
my pin. Just take it all already.
Just take it.
Just
already.
take it.
I will give you a picture. Please, here, just just
That's funny. So that's everything that was part of the official Marvel Studios animation panel. But there was one other announcement that I really think we should talk about that I don't see a lot of other people covering right now, and that is the announcement for Marvel's Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. This is another animated series that's going to be coming to Disney Plus and Disney Channel, and it follows 13-year-old super genius Lunella Lafayette and her 10-ton T-Rex. First of its kind. As far as I know, she's the very first teenage African-American superhero in the Marvel Universe, so that has a lot behind it. On top of that, they got 3-time Grammy Award winner Raphael Sadiq to come in and be the executive music producer for the show, doing the entire soundtrack. And then on top of that, he's producing the theme song sung by Diamond White. And I had a chance to listen to a piece of that, and it sounds great. Like, it's got like this hip hop New York vibe. There's a lot of funk. It's so good. I'm excited for like what the show is and the soundtrack behind it. And I think I had a list. Hold on. I wrote down who was in it. It's starring Allison Brie, Andy Cohen, Daveed Diggs, Maya Hawke, Jennifer Hudson, Method Man, Kobe
Nice.
Smulders, and Wesley Snipes.
Whoa. All right.
Yeah,
That's a good
That's
lineup.
that is a good
Voice
lineup.
animation right there.
So that wasn't really talked about by a lot of people, but it's definitely something you're going to want to watch out for. I don't know how the releases are going to happen because it's also supposed to be on Disney Channel, but I imagine that it's going to be something similar to how they're going to release the Chibiverse stuff, where it goes on Disney Channel first, and then they wait a little bit, and then they throw the episode like a week or two later on Disney Plus. Don't quote me on that. Once we find out more information, we'll update you, but keep your eye out for this one.
I don't know how we're not talking about the dinosaur. Do we
I know.
not want a dinosaur in DCA? Come on.
That would be awesome. Imagine
It
Ant-Man
was so
versus a
cool.
T-Rex.
Yeah. Make it a
That'd be
show.
so
I
cool.
mean, I'm just saying. Wow.
They got
This is
projection
cool.
technology to see this battle happen. We could
Yep.
do it.
Yep. Bring out drones.
Right? Oh my god. Don't even get me started on the drones because there's so much they could do right now with that.
Oh man.
All right. So this leads us to the Marvel live action panel. But before we get into it, I do want to remind you that this episode of Podketeers is brought to you by a fantastic group of listeners known as the FGP Squad, our podcast Fairy Godparents, because it's their support via Patreon that help make these episodes of Podketeers happen. If you want more info on how you can become part of the FGP Squad family, head on over to podketeers.com/FGP for more information. There you'll find a list of some of our top contributors, a link to our Patreon, and a little info on what the FGP Squad is all about. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. You can either send us a message on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or we'd love for you to join us on our Discord server. Just head on over to the blog post for this episode, podketeers.com/423. Click on the Discord link and you'll be able to join us there super quickly. You can also click on the link on our Instagram pinned story to join us as well. But being a part of the FGP Squad family does get you some additional perks like discount codes for Podketeers gear, additional content over on Patreon like the Podketeers After Show, additional audio clips, access to our happy hour calls, random giveaways, and all sorts of stuff. So again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. And of course, to all of the members of the FGP Squad, we just want to send a huge thank you for your continued support. All right, so Marvel live action panel. Hot damn.
Yeah.
So much good stuff. So emotional. We start off by getting the announcement that everything that's happening right now is officially titled the Multiverse Saga. We know that the last 10 years of Marvel content leading up to everything that happened in Endgame was called the Infinity Saga. And so now, with everything that's happened, we are currently in the Multiverse Saga. Phase 4, I talked about it earlier in the episode. I was really excited because in my head, like I knew all these Disney Plus shows were happening, but they never computed in my head as being a part of the phase, right? Like, because I've been so used to only seeing films as part of phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, in my head, only the films counted as part of the phases for some reason. But phase 4 officially started with WandaVision. And so from WandaVision, we've had, as part of phase 4, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Eternals, Hawkeye, Spider-Man No Way Home, Moon Knight, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, Miss Marvel, Thor Love and Thunder, the upcoming series She-Hulk Attorney at Law, and of course, wrapping up phase 4, Wakanda Forever. Now, we'll get into Wakanda Forever in just a moment, but again, I've been talking about phase 4, like, you know, as we're building phase 4, man, we're out of phase 4. We're basically out of it. Like, we're like 2 projects away from officially wrapping it up.
It's like
it's crazy. It's crazy. Okay, so a lot of the projects that were in phase 4, I felt like these don't make sense to me, right? And they didn't make sense to me because I'm not an avid comic book reader like other people are. So I've had to do a lot of research and I've had to learn about a lot of these characters and, you know, where these things are coming from. Like, I knew about some of the projects that led up like into WandaVision and stuff like that because I remember reading House of M and I remember reading Secret Wars and I remember reading all these different comics, you know, 10, 15 years ago. So I knew a little bit about it, but I didn't know how they all wrapped together. And now that we have an announcement of where phase 5 and even phase 6 is currently going, it's all making sense now. And with the announcement that we're officially in the Multiverse Saga, thank you, Kevin. Love you. All right, so let's get into this because we got some announcements. Let's talk about some of the trailers. We got a trailer for She-Hulk. That's the next project coming up on Disney Plus as we're getting ready to wrap up phase 4. She-Hulk reminds me a lot of Deadpool.
Yes.
Oh, that's a good comparison. Never thought about that.
Yeah. She seems
It's
to
gonna be
break the
fun.
fourth wall a lot, especially in the trailer. There's even a moment where she breaks the fourth wall and she's almost confused that she did it. Right? So there's this just alertness about where she is that just she's seemingly also confused about. So that's going to be an interesting twist that I want to see explored more during the show. Interestingly enough, I don't recall seeing Bruce as Bruce. Like, I always saw him as Hulk. Mm-hmm. And more importantly, because we always saw him not angry, are we officially in Professor Hulk phase for him?
I think so.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why not?
I mean, it
It's all right.
seems like
Beast
it, right?
teaching.
Join the game, like we're talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like it. Like, it seems like he's got better control now. It seems
Beast
like
Hulk
he's...
mode.
Yeah. Nice. So yeah, I mean, I'm really interested to see where this one goes. There's a lot of criticism about the animation and how it looks in this one. I don't care, to be honest.
Same.
One,
Same.
because I think there's two things that are throwing people off. Is the animation animated? Yeah, of course. She's animated. Does it look weird in comparison to Bruce? Yeah, because Bruce already had a model based on him from previous Avengers films. On top of that, Hulk's facial features look already really exaggerated because the Hulk was so huge that they had to exaggerate the facial features.
Mhm.
For She-Hulk, they're animating, facial features that look almost exactly the same, that don't really change. They don't morph into, this beast of a Hulk, right? So she's
Right.
basically just green.
But I would see it like this. She's kind of more advanced, and it's explained in the trailer. Like, she's able to control it a lot more than he can. So I'm just going to say, you know what? There it is. That's tied to that.
It could also be that we're seeing early renderings of her because they just needed something for the trailer.
True.
Do you know when? I don't recall when this is releasing.
August 17th, 2022.
Oh, we're close then.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was like, I couldn't
Oh.
remember.
For me, it's funny you bring that point up too, because I watched an interview from when they did Comic-Con when they spoke with the main actress, Tatiana
Maslany?
Maslany, and she made that point, Melissa, which I thought was great, is that Hulk, when you first saw him appear in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, he did not control any internal, like he had no control of his internalness. Like he became a whole different person until now. What you just bring up, Heyzen. Now he's like full on Dr. Hulk. So it's like now when we see this one, it's like it's interesting because she has to deal with that dilemma of having that, like, I am fully aware and I have to take this all in, being that now I'm this new ultra being to get through this. So it's a whole nother layer. And then we tie in comedy, and perfect segue. I didn't even think about it, Hazen, to say it's like Deadpool. It's exactly like Deadpool's been given a hand he really didn't want, but he could definitely use. And so like I feel like you're getting the same dynamic. And yes, I love breaking the fourth wall. And the second thing I left in the trailer, spandex. Your best friend is spandex. My life and Nutty Professor reference for sure for me.
Yeah, that made me chuckle when he first said that. He's like, "Who's your best friend?" And she says like somebody's name. He's like, "No, spandex."
Spandex is your best friend. So good.
Yeah, I'm not the Hulk, and spandex is currently my best friend in the form of basketball
Yep.
shorts. So I got you,
I
Bruce.
think we're talking about.
I'm right there with you, man. Thank you for agreeing on this one. So She-Hulk, it looks fun. There's going to be a lot of villains and a lot of introductions of other characters, including a small glimpse of Daredevil. Now, this introduction is interesting because the Daredevil shot that we get towards the end of the trailer, he's wearing his yellow, black, and red suit, which is the original one from the comics. There was a lot of debate on, well, that's not his original suit, like it's red, like a Netflix. No. The Daredevil suit from the Netflix series was inspired by the version that Frank Miller and John Romita Jr. created, which was used in the live-action TV series The Trial of the Incredible Hulk. Mm-hmm. But the red suit that we know today was created by Wally Wood in the 1960s. The yellow, red, and black suit was the original one that Stan Lee and Jack Kirby created when Daredevil first made an appearance. So it's kind of cool that we're getting this like original suit for him. I don't know where this is going to fit timeline-wise for Daredevil and how officially the series that they brought from Netflix are going to fit into the timeline, if ever canonically, or if they're just going to call it like multiverse version of these characters because we've already opened that door. So it's the easiest thing that they can do. But
It works.
I like this. Yeah, like I like this. I like where they're going with it. I'm excited.
Mm-hmm.
Should we jump to the other stuff? Because I think rounding out Phase 4 right now is going to get pretty emotional. So do you guys want to end with that one?
Sure.
All right, let's end with that part. So let's jump over to Phase 5.
Sure.
Because we got a sneak peek of the first film that's kicking off Phase 5 of the Multiverse Saga, and that is Quantumania. Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. This was interesting because we got a look at the poster, and then the people that were in attendance at Comic-Con also had an opportunity to watch like a sneak peek of the trailer for the film as well. There were some reports that some stuff had leaked. I didn't get a chance to watch the trailer, but there was a lot of comments about what was in that trailer. And man, I'm excited. Because one, the poster that we got officially for Quantumania shows Kang the Conqueror in the background.
Oh, that's right.
In his official Kang the Conqueror outfit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're not seeing Kang from Loki, we're seeing Kang the Conqueror, right?
Yep.
On top of that, we see both Ant-Man and the Wasp, and then there's a third person suited up, none other than Cassie Lang, but we don't know who she's playing in the film yet, though. There are a couple of options because in the comics, as part of the Young Avengers, she showed up as Stature, and then she also showed up in The Astonishing Ant-Man as Stinger.
Ah.
So she suited up. She could be either one of these two characters. Personally, Ant-Man, Wasp, Stinger makes sense. I like it better than Stature, even if she does turn out to be one of the Young Avengers. But, I mean, I don't know what they're going to go with. For all we know, they're going to come up with some other, like, she's Locust. You know, I don't know. They'll come up with some other bug for her to be. So, we also got some confirmation from people in the audience that we're getting MODOK as part of this film. That is terrifying considering that we're already getting Kang the Conqueror as part of this film. MODOK is one of the biggest villains in the Marvel universe.
We're just trying to
especially in
bring
the
them all
comics.
out.
Yeah. And this is exciting because I feel like, you know, we complained a lot how in the Infinity Saga there wasn't the big bad.
True.
Right? There wasn't, like, Thanos was the only impending, you know, villain that we had, and even the story arcs were just like whatever when it came to the villains, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, with the opening of the multiverse and with, you know, Disney getting rights back from Fox and having access to other villains, now it looks like we're really building these stories the way that they were meant to be built. And that, I think, is the most exciting part that's coming into Phase 5 as part of the multiverse saga. And if this is true, there's a report that in the trailer for Ant-Man and the Wasp, or for Quantumania, where Scott meets Kang the Conqueror. And the report is that he goes up to Kang, they're fighting, and he says, "Don't you know who I am? I'm an Avenger." And Kang responds with, "Have I killed you before?" And I'm like, oh. I mean, look, the Conqueror of Worlds responded to me like that. I'd be like, I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
I see you later. I'm
Yep.
just,
Disappear.
I'm out.
Shrink. Gone.
Yeah. Like I said, I didn't get a chance to see the leak footage. That's the report that people are saying was part of it, but I'm seeing it more and more, so I feel like it's true. And if that's true, man, that's going to be savage. So, Quantumania, excited about that. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Look, the Guardians franchise is something that I unexpectedly just grew to love. I had zero expectations when they first announced it. I was never a big fan of the Guardians of the Galaxy. But then they introduced this team James Gunn essentially,
Thank goodness.
made me love all these characters.
Mm-hmm.
And he's back.
And 2 films in, going into Volume 3, I mean, there was some emotional moments in Volume 2. For this one, it looks like they're going to center a lot of Volume 3 around Rocket's story.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to get to see, like, when he was a little baby raccoon and they kind of, like, brought him to be and all the experiments and everything.
Look out, baby Groot. A baby
Right?
Rocket.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Baby Rocket's coming, man.
Competition.
Baby Rocket's coming.
Competitions. Right?
Yeah. So James Gunn officially said that this is confirmed the end of this team up. And so I don't know how to take that, because I feel like people are going to die basically in this one. Right?
Long story
if
short.
that's the end of
Yeah.
this team up. Yeah, well, that's the thing. You can't ever say never, because, people die all the time in Marvel, and
Multiverse
they
and
come back in
come
some
back.
form or another.
Zombie.
Plus, we're
Right?
getting Gamora back, so there's multiverse versions. So is it the end of this specific team up? Yeah, from 616, yeah. But it leaves the door open for the multiverse versions of them, because I did have an opportunity to go back and look a little bit into the Guardians, and this team up that we have right now isn't even the original team up. Like, the original team up from, like, back in the 60s was Vance Astro, also known as Major Victory, Martin X Tanaga, Captain Charlie 27, and Yondu, of all people.
Wow.
Like, Yondu was a Guardian.
Interesting.
Okay? And then in 2008, we were introduced to the team up of Star-Lord, Rocket, Groot, Phyla-Vell, also known as Quasar, and in some comics also Captain Marvel, Gamora, Drax, and Adam Warlock, who we had teased in the films, but we never actually saw. So is Adam Warlock coming? Could be. Then in 2015, there was another version, like another official version, which was Rocket, Kitty Pryde, The Thing, Drax, Agent Venom, and Groot. And then eventually Star-Lord, Gamora, and another character named Angela joined the team. And then, obviously, like, the teams have changed, right? Like, in between having those characters and in between those years, they introduced characters, they took characters out. So they had characters like Agent Venom, Ant-Man, Bug, Captain Marvel, Cosmo the Space Dog, which we've seen in Mission Breakout,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Flag, even Iron Man, has been a part of the team. In the films, we had Mantis. Mantis was also part of one of the revolving characters. Moondragon. So, there's been all these characters that have been part of the Guardians of the Galaxy at some point, not even counting the iterations of, like, they weren't called the Guardians of the Galaxy, like they formed other teams as well. So with all these new characters that they can introduce, with Adam Warlock kind of pending somewhere, if it's the end of this particular team, maybe we'll see another version of them coming up. But I also feel like this is James Gunn's baby.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if they
Oh, yeah.
do another version of the Guardians of the Galaxy, it better live up to what James Gunn has done with these 3 volumes. Otherwise, people are going to be mad.
Oh, geez. There's just a lot to unlock. A lot. But yeah, it's going to be trippy going to see this one because, like you said, it's going to be the last one. Who knows what's going to happen? But at the same time, it's like, oh, is this another end game? I don't want to think of it like that. It'll be one last adventure.
Sorry, Melissa. I think it's over. I'm just going to put it out there, guys. Sorry. I think
I
it's,
tried.
if you hate me for it, I think this is the end. I think James Gunn, what you said, I'm going to call it. I'm going to put my cards on the table. This is his baby. He loves these characters. He built an arc for them, a storyline. And I think if he wants to take the story, I think Kev's, the guy you love, will let him take it. And just, I don't know, guys. I think we're about to see a lot of bad. When you say the word,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
I'm not saying these characters are like okay to get rid of. Trust me, I'm sitting back here like not wanting to happen, but I just don't like the way this is going. Like Melissa said, are we about to see something? I'm like, yeah, I could see that for sure.
It's gonna
Yeah.
be bad.
I mean, it makes sense too, right? From a cinematic standpoint, like even going back to Endgame, right? There's a reason why guys like Robert Downey Jr. were like, no, I'm done with Iron Man, because you've been doing the same character for a decade, plus.
Yeah.
And on top of some people getting typecast as these characters, which if you're in the MCU, I don't think anybody cares about getting typecast as your character. But I hate to say it, but they're getting older, right? And so there's only so much that they can do with special effects to continue making these characters look the way that they did 10 years ago. And so it makes sense that they're replacing them with all these new characters, because just like in the comics, things happen to these characters that we care about. The stories move on. There's a lot of real life elements that play into the films. So, leading into these next two phases, it would make sense that some of these characters or some of the actors that are playing these characters maybe want to keep doing it, but they understand why it's time to move on. Right, so can they live on an animated series? Yeah, obviously.
For
It's easier
sure.
to live on an animated series, doing stuff like What If and stuff like that. But on the big screen, they need to start introducing the new characters, right? It's kind of like they're doing with Star Wars. They're introducing a lot of new characters. People may not like it, but they're not catering to the old fans anymore. They're building a new fan base that's going to be around for them for the next 20 or 30 years, the way that the current fan base has been there for the last 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 years, right? So they're thinking about the future. So it makes sense. How many people are going to be gone at the end of this one? I don't know, but it feels like it's gonna be a really sad ending. I don't think we're gonna.
This is not the saddest part of the podcast, guys.
Right.
No, I know.
Strap
No,
in.
and it's not exactly.
Well-
But it's gonna be a really sad ending.
What are they gonna do
I
with the
don't know.
ride? What about the ride? Like, that's what I'm thinking. Like, if this is gonna happen, like, I know this is why it's video based. Sometimes, like, video, right? It's video based, so chances are you could make some modifications. But how does that play out? Because they really haven't ran into that problem at the park yet, where if one of these main characters goes, like, they're gone. I mean, they still bring out Iron Man.
Still walks.
Yeah, right. They
Gamorre's
still
still
bring
there.
out those characters, but a ride, which that's another question for right. That's what I was thinking. But James Gunn made it. If you see his interview, at least, unless he's just a very good salesman, he made it sound pretty obsolete. Like there will be not like saying there's going to be. He's just saying that these characters have ran their story, and that's kind of like leaving it out there.
What if he's actually telling us that, and we get the complete opposite? I mean, who knows?
So.
Heaven.
I mean, it could be a swerve, right? It is Marvel. They can swerve us at any time.
Yeah.
But I feel like James Gunn is one of those people that he's like, he's pretty open with the projects that he makes. Like he's
usually the ones he does.
I mean, yeah, he's not the type of person to tiptoe around. Like I feel like he gets in trouble a lot with Marvel for revealing stuff all the time.
A lot of studios.
Like I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But I feel like
he's
just the type
on his social media, and he'll say stuff like that, and then he gets in trouble for it. But I don't know.
See, so
and he's technically he's
I think
a little bit untouchable because Disney did try to cut ties after some tweets back in the day, but then he's back because we found out that it was not that big of a deal, and everything went down. So it's like he's like kind of like the Michael Jordan effect, where he could say what he wants to say and be like, "Oops,
yeah,
what are you gonna do?"
Well, I mean, look, I think Disney. I don't want to say that he's untouchable, right? I think at some
I'm
point,
saying like in regards to spoilers, not to what.
Right.
I
want to say I want to say I don't want to say that he's untouchable when it comes to that stuff, but I think he's given a little more leeway because I feel like he does it. If you think back on the things that he said, it's not like like a blatant reveal, right? It unveils a part of the story, but he's never giving away anything fully. Unlike other cast members, like Tom Holland's probably the worst.
Yes,
And then
yes.
like him and Mark Ruffalo
I was about to say
are probably the
Ruffalo.
worst.
Ooh,
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah,
taking
like
a risk
Ruffalo. Maybe
following
Ruffalo's
him.
the worst.
No, he
Ruffalo,
is. That
he's a
movie.
risk.
Yeah, so I would say that it's not like at that point, but like he always gives enough for people to be super excited.
Oh yeah.
And on top of that, like taking the Guardians, like all of everything in the Infinity Saga was these characters that were seemingly not the best characters that Marvel had. Like they started off with Iron Man, a total B character, and they built it up into this like huge franchise, right? The Guardians were kind of the same. Like the Guardians of the Galaxy weren't the most popular comic, and James Gunn made them one of the most beloved franchises in
There's a
Marvel
ride.
history.
There's a ride.
Yeah,
like
there's
we
a
just
mentioned.
freaking ride.
Yeah.
Exactly. On top of that, then not just here, there's Cosmic Rewind at Disney
Oh,
World.
good point.
Right? Like
I
there's a
forgot all about
freaking
that.
roller coaster. That's how popular these characters are. On top of that, Disney got a little glimpse at the genius that is James Gunn when they cut ties with him, and he went off and did Suicide Squad, and that turned out to
That's
be
what I'm
an
saying.
amazing
He,
movie
like,
for the
flipped
DC
the
universe. So yeah, so the fact that Disney's like, okay, let's cut him a little slack because he just makes gold out of the stuff that we give him, right? He's just a really great writer and a really great director. So I don't know. I hope that he's scheduled to do other projects in the next couple of phases, even if it's not Guardians, or maybe he introduces the new set of Guardians.
Right.
Right?
Maybe that's
I
just
don't
a way
know.
to
I'm
tease
just
us, right?
yeah,
Hard to say.
yeah. I don't know. There's so many
Questions.
things going through my head right now. I know.
What
Oh, damn
if?
it.
Right.
Right? So anyway, Marvel, how dare you? Volume 3, Guardians of the Galaxy. That's going to be coming out May of 2023. So we got some time to mourn the Guardians.
To
as
prepare.
we stand.
We have some time.
And
to
after
mentally
the
prepare.
film,
Yeah.
and after the film, we got a good 4 or 5 years before we have to worry about them changing the attraction or anything. So we're good for a while. Don't worry about that. We're fine. All right, so continuing with Marvel Phase 5, before we get into the other big announcement, considering that we're talking about this right now, Ant-Man and the Wasp is going to be followed by Secret Invasion in spring of 2023. There's not a lot of information about this. There's still, just kind of some lingering graphics, but it's coming. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 releases May 2023. Summer 2023, we're getting 3 releases. We're getting Echo, Loki Season 2, and on July 28th, we're getting The Marvels. That is the film that we recently got a tease for at the end of Miss Marvel with Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, and Monica Rambeau. That's coming in about a year from now. Fall of 2023, we're going to be introduced to Ironheart on Disney+. We finally get a release date for Blade. That's November of 2023. That's also a really exciting one because Blade was one of those films that was just so action-packed when they released it, back when Wesley Snipes played him. And, I mean, this is one that I've, been closely looking forward to as well. Winter 2023 and 2024, so December, January, we're getting Agatha, but no longer House of Harkness.
Nope.
We're getting
Coven of
Agatha,
Chaos.
Coven of Chaos.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Interesting title flip.
Yeah, it sounds better. I mean,
Sorcery.
yes, that's all you could think of is dark magic and what else they're going to give us. Because, man, episode 7 was a lot. So if they could do more based on that, yes, thank you, Kevin. You heard us.
Yeah.
Can I rewind the script a little bit? Real quick. I don't know if you're gonna do this, Heyzen, but on Secret Invasion, I saw an interview with, it used to be Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. She's gonna be in it. But what I heard is she did an interview and she said this show first, we're gonna see Fury back, so I'm psyched.
Yeah.
Second, the show, when you watch it, be prepared to not know who's who. So we're definitely gonna see the people that
That's
shift.
right.
What are they called, Heyzen?
Skrulls.
I know you know this. Scrolls. Thanks, Melissa.
Yeah.
Nice. Hey. That you will watch the show and you will not know who's who. And I'm like, whoa. Remember, like, What If? When we watched What If, we were like, oh, man, what does this all mean? Like, what does it mean, right? We were all Jack Skeleton.
Question marks.
Right? So when I heard that, I was like, well, first, I'm psyched because I love anything tied to that older, back in the day phase of Marvel. And now to think there's going to be these, like, hidden things with the scrolls, I'm like, oh, man, that's going to be super good. But, yeah, sorry. Now we go back. Not to confuse everybody.
No, I didn't see that interview, so that's actually great information because
It is.
that was a huge twist for me. I mean, we did get a glimpse of it at the end of Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
There's we got a little glimpse of that.
Oh, yeah.
shift.
Yes.
Yeah, in the theater, so we got that. And then wasn't there another tease at the end of... It was one of the Disney Plus shows.
Yeah, they're driving in a black Escalade, if I remember.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
I don't
which one
remember
was that?
which. The point is that we've been leading up into that one.
The introduction of them.
That, yeah. Oh, man. See, those are the little pieces of information that just make me even more excited for these damn series.
No.
Okay.
Psyched.
All right. Here we go. All right.
Chaos.
So Agatha House of Harkness, no longer known as that. Agatha Coven of Chaos. It's an interesting change. I don't exactly know why they changed it, but they also pushed the date. It was supposed to come out a lot sooner than when it's currently slated for now. So I wonder what happened to make it get pushed and to get the title change. Regardless, I don't care.
Same.
Because Catherine Hahn is just so awesome as Agatha Harkness that, I like what they did with her in WandaVision. So, like, when they told us we're getting a spinoff, I was like, yes, please. Let's do it. So, are we getting more Ralph Boner?
Oh. Who knows?
Who knows?
I mean, we've officially opened the multiverse, so technically there would be a... Remember when that first came out and we went crazy with WandaVision? We're like, the X-Men are coming! We're like all crazy.
We were like jumping the gun so far.
Yeah.
Hey, look, man. If ever, let's finish up this one because we got two. Because we got two here to round out Phase 5. So after 3. So after Agatha Coven of Chaos, we have Daredevil Born Again coming in spring 2024. And that's exciting because it's not 6 or 7 or 8 episodes. It is 18 episodes of Daredevil coming to Disney Plus. That is a crazy storyline if we're getting 18 episodes.
I know, man.
I hate to say this, but I hope that it's not a bunch of filler stuff. I really hope.
For 18? I'm hoping it's Cameo City. It's like cameos everywhere.
It could be.
I'm so glad you mentioned that.
There's so many related characters.
And in the area as well. There's overlapping. Yeah. So
that's my
maybe.
hope.
Right.
No, you're right. I mean, it could very well be that, which is why we need the introduction to give proper introduction to all of these characters, right? And more importantly, I think the biggest, and I don't even know how this is going to happen, and it could happen in the 18 episode arc, but there's a villain known as the Hood that is kind of like a mafia kingpin where like even guys like Doc Ock have joined in his like band of misfits, so to speak. So Parker Robbins is a character that I think at some point we're going to get introduced to. That might be the story arc that we get for that Daredevil series. Who knows? But I feel like that's a character that we're going to see really soon because like you said, Mel, there's all these characters. So much to cover. Damn it. Anyway, so yeah, super excited. Okay, so this was one of the bigger announcements for ending Phase 5 is that we're getting, in May 2024, we're getting Captain America New World Order. We knew that there was a Captain America film coming. We finally got a title for it. We also have a release date. But on top of that, in July 2024, we're getting the Thunderbolts film. The Thunderbolts film, we just talked about the Suicide Squad. The Thunderbolts is kind of Marvel's answer to the Suicide Squad. It's a bunch of villains that they get together, that they team up, and they do stuff. So I don't know who they're going to introduce as the villains for that one. That's going to be an interesting list. We're going to keep an eye out for that. And if they did release it as part of the Comic-Con announcements, I apologize. I don't remember seeing that anywhere, but I'll keep an eye out for it. So that's going to round out Phase 5. And it was interesting that as part of Phase 5, we didn't see announcements for anything else that there was speculation for. Until Kevin said, oh, by the way, we have some Phase 6 news for you. And everybody's like, what? Phase 6? But you just gave us an entire lineup for 5. Right? So he announces Phase 6. And in Phase 6, there's about a dozen projects starting in fall 2024. So there's going to be some overlap with Phase 5. But the first film that's slated, like the first official film that's coming as part of Phase 6, is the Fantastic Four, November 2024.
Finally.
So we finally have a Fantastic Four film. We're getting some official news on it. The logo that's been floating around is the logo that they're using for it, unless they decide to change it last minute or they change the title like they did for Agatha, which I doubt.
This is like,
But
it was like a
that's exciting.
mobile phone release. How many times we saw that logo? You know, when you get all the we got leaked phone schematics. We kept getting the 4 image for like years now.
Exactly. I feel like it got to the point where if they didn't use that logo, people were going to riot.
That's a good point. Yeah, I know. They would have just slightly changed the color. What is this?
Yeah. Yeah. They just had to use it. If it wasn't official, if it was just some like fan thing, they had to have reached out to the artist and been like, hey, can we just use this? Because people are going to be pissed if we don't. You know, so
Comic-Con might burn down.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
So if that was the case, good on them. I hope they got paid for that. So that's the first official movie coming in Phase 6. And then we had the bombshell drop that in May 2025, we're getting Avengers, the Kang Dynasty. And everyone in Hall H loses it, right? Because, finally, another Avengers movie, and it's called Kang Dynasty. And then Kevin pulls a Steve Jobs, and he's like, oh, by the way, there's one more thing. And then he says that in November 2025, just months later, we're getting Avengers Secret Wars. And the crowd goes wild. This is insane.
Mm-hmm.
Because that means that ending out the multiverse saga, we're getting 2 Avengers movies very similar to how we capped out the Infinity Saga with Infinity War and Endgame.
A recipe.
Exactly.
Well done. That's me.
Exactly.
Kisses to the chef.
Exactly.
I don't know if I'm emotionally ready for that. That's a lot. Because
I know.
Endgame had us crying in fetal position for a while, and it's like 2... After that announcement, I'm like, oh, we're going to have to recover a little longer than Endgame.
I mean, we've had how many years at this point?
Too soon?
I mean, Endgame released back in 2019.
Uh-huh.
Right? And by 2025, 18? When this...
No, you're right.
I want to say it was 2019. Yeah,
you're right.
2019. Yeah. So, I mean, we have from 2019 to, 2025.
So the next
it's a good 6-year gap, between them. I do feel that, the phases are moving much faster than they used to.
Yes.
But that's okay. I mean, if the next 3 phases only take 2 years, then we're going to have some emotional issues. Like every Marvel film is going to have to start coming with a side of psychiatric help.
And tissues.
So that you can talk to somebody. And tissues, yeah. Like you're going to have to stand in line for a hug at the end of the film as you're walking out of the theater or something.
Thanks, Heyzen, for that Avengers Endgame. I appreciate that hug. Yeah. You gave me one. We really did.
Hey man, hug after that. I understood. How you were feeling at the end of.
I walked out and then I went right into Galaxy's Edge. That was a very overwhelming day.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, I mean, I love the fact that they're capping off Phase 6 and the Multiverse Saga with another Avengers film. Like you said, I don't know if I can take it, especially considering that there's a lot of characters already that I'm starting to grow really attached to. That was my biggest concern going into this phase, right? That there wasn't going to be characters that I was going to connect with. But honestly, I didn't see that happening in the first, in the Infinity Saga either.
Right.
So
I have a quick question. Maybe for like even the FGP squad on this, and it's maybe proven scientifically. You could probably add it up, and I just don't have it here in front of me. Does it feel faster because before we just waited for the movie releases in Marvel Cinematic Universe, but now in between we're so lucky to have Disney Plus to launch all these shows. So now it feels like things are coming faster because we have so much content in between the movie releases. Because that's what I'm excited about. That's what gets me pumped. That I remember the previous phases, I'd always be like, oh man, now we got to wait for another movie to come out.
Another year
now I'm like,
or two.
Yeah, now I'm all like, all right, what's next? What am I looking for? What's the next part? But yeah, it feels like when you look at the timeline for the phases right now, you're like, whoa, that's a lot to swallow up front. And it's just because, like you just said, Heyzen, when we started the podcast, it feels like we just blew past phase 4. Like that was like, boom. Yeah, like that literally. That was on purpose.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's a little bit of both, right? Because from a linear point, it really is faster. Because Iron Man 1 released back in 2008, and we didn't finish the Infinity Saga till 2019. So that's 11 years between the beginning and the end. But Phase 4 officially kicked off with WandaVision in January of 2021. And this is capping off at the end of, like, in November 2025. That's only 5 years.
Yeah, it's half. Dang. Okay.
So that's half the time to go through 3 phases. And that's a crap ton of content.
Yeah.
It's going to be like a freight train.
Yeah. And think about it. For Phase 6, we just kind of went through Phase 4, Phase 5, there's a bunch of unreleased stuff that some of it doesn't have an actual release date. It just says like spring 2023, summer 2023, fall 2023, but there's no actual dates to them.
True.
For Phase 6, there's about a dozen projects, and so far 3 have been announced.
Yeah.
Fantastic Four and the 2 Avengers films. Everything else says like fall 2024, winter, spring, summer, but nothing is titled yet. Which means that somewhere in between, we're getting X-Men.
That's what I'm thinking.
6.
I was like, it's a good way to drop it.
Right. And so here's my theory. I said this at the very beginning that I was going to talk about this. I think that at Comic-Con, they released enough information so that the people at Comic-Con were like, cool, this was worth it. Thanks for dropping all this. But in a month or so at D23, I think we're going to get a lot more, and we're going to start hearing the word mutant a lot more.
I think people switched their phones on because the tickets sold out pretty quickly after Comic-Con.
Yeah.
That's what they did. They went, whoop, whoop. Is there anything out there I can get? Yeah, it was like a chain reaction after that. When I saw online, it was like I couldn't scroll fast enough, like hint scroll, like just dropping that in there. But yeah, I was just like on my phone, like this is crazy. Like they're gonna announce, like you said, there's not all 12 on there. There's gonna be so much more at D23. So all you guys already, as our Disney fam are out there, like be prepared. Yes. Be prepared.
And it has to be at this D23, right? Because D23 is every couple of years. Like they do have Destination D on alternating years, but if we're getting D23 this year, that means D23 isn't going to happen again until 2024. And with the year anticipation, that's too short of a time. I mean, obviously it's not, because lately I feel like Marvel has been waiting until the last minute to give us trailers, maybe to not spoil things, because I don't remember seeing stuff for Love and Thunder until like 2 weeks before the movie released.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it's becoming a trend where maybe they're doing it so less spoilers happen, but that might be the case. I mean, who knows? They might wait until 2024 to drop more stuff. But I have a strong feeling that at D23 this year, we're going to get a lot more from Marvel, especially in terms of X-Men.
I'm guessing at least titles are going to get dropped. Maybe not timeline, like dates, but I'm guessing they're going to give you project titles.
Yeah.
It would be nice for Ryan Reynolds to just pop up.
Ooh,
I mean, I'm just saying.
Look at that.
Interesting.
I mean, he was just at it, just
planting seeds out there.
Well, I mean, there is a rumored Deadpool 3 film.
Yeah.
So not more information is available, but what if fall 2024, right before Fantastic Four, turns out to be Deadpool 3?
Hey, there.
Fall
hey.
2024 also turns out to be the X-Men.
I'm only saying.
Or it's not even full X-Men. Maybe they start with Wolverine and they start resetting the Hugh Jackman, version of Wolverine. And in fall 2024, or the first project before Fantastic Four is announced as Project X at D23. Because Project X would technically give us a timeline for Logan, and it would give us a timeline for Deadpool, because Wade is not a full mutant. He was a genetically created mutant. So that could lead into Deadpool, and it could lead into Wolverine or an X-Men film.
I know I'm speculating, but I'm like, Kevin just dropped Daredevil, and then magically he was in the next film. Magically he's gonna be coming out on Disney Plus. Suddenly this happens. I don't know. I'm just going by what Kevin's been doing, trying to refollow those steps.
Yeah. And I want to say that Weapon X. I called it Project X. It's Weapon X. I want to say that Weapon X has actually been talked about in one of the MCU films at one point. I don't remember if it was in The Incredible Hulk or if it was in the first Captain America film. But I want to say that Weapon X was referenced.
We got homework.
Yep. Homework for everybody.
Yep.
Hurry it up. September's coming.
All right. You know what? I want to say that it was the end scene for Iron Man 2. 1? I don't know.
Got to me.
It was for one of them, but I want to say that Weapon X has been referenced in the MCU before. I'd have to go back and check. I don't remember. But that's great because there's some reference to it, right? There's everything that's coming. There's been references for, including the final film that was announced that we're going to talk about, finish up the podcast with, and that's Wakanda Forever. Wakanda Forever.
Soon.
Yeah, it's coming sooner than I think my emotions can handle, because that is coming this November. It's just months away. The trailer dropped for this, and it's one of the only trailers they actually released. Your thoughts on the trailer?
Emotionally going in and emotionally leaving that theater. That's all I could think of. Just emotions. And the imagery, and it's the way that the song that they played, and then what you just keep hearing is everything's gonna be okay, and it's like, no, I'm gonna cry because I'm just gonna be missing T'Challa up there. And you could even see them in the trailer, the queen, how she has her emotion, how she's how she is just passionate. And I'm like, oh man, tissues, take tissues, just take tissues. Don't even doubt, just take them. A friend's gonna need it, guaranteed. But yeah, emotional for sure.
When it dropped, and I remember you guys were texting like, you gotta check these out, and I was like, all right. So then I didn't. It's weird when I watched it. I know Chadwick Boseman, right? I didn't. I knew when he had passed, it was a thing, right? That I didn't I was sad for him as an actor to be gone as a person for what he stood for and what roles he took. But when this trailer hit, it made me really come to conclusion that, God, that character did build a lot in 1 to 2 movies, I guess. And What If too, like the attachment that I had immediately, like I'm getting right now. It's like a chill that just ran through my body, like knowing like, oh, we have to deal with this. Like not
Mm-hmm.
only as it being a cinematic movie, but as now being represented in this Marvel universe, for them to intertwine it with the story, it's like a double hit. And then, like you guys said, then they drop the music and you see the imagery, which definitely probably has some imagery of what could be like a ceremony of a goodbye to someone in a traditional, you know, funeral. And that's when it hit me. It was weird because I watched it. I was like, whoa, I do have an emotional tie to this movie in a bigger way than I would have thought. Like I was ready for it before, and I always talked on the podcast like I am looking forward to this movie to
Mm-hmm.
see what they're gonna do. But I didn't realize, like we're talking about like here, like I was like sucked into a point where I was like, I'm gonna have to deal through this, like, and find a way to reconcile with the character being gone and what it stood for. And man, they look like they're. I'm excited still, but now I'm like, I'm moved, which is crazy to say about a comic book style movie, right? It's not.
Yeah.
It's more than that now, and this is why people are like, oh, you're into Marvel movies or whatever. Whatever. What's his name? James Cameron. Always talking trash about Marvel. No, dude, Titanic never hit me like that trailer just hit me right now. Like
Right.
seriously, and that's like a
Right.
minute and what 40 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yep.
dude, Heyzen, that's when I came to this like realization, like, wow, this is gonna be. It looks good. I'm in. There's so much story happening so quick in these segments. But wait a sec, I have to find out how to deal with this and still feel good. Like, where do we go from here? It's gonna be all right. It's like, oh man, so good.
Yeah. You know, Ryan Coogler is very quickly becoming one of my favorite directors because the things that I've seen him do are so impactful. You know, when Black Panther was released back in 2018, it wasn't just a fun, action-packed Marvel film. It was the first film that I think hit me on that level. The way that he told their story, and not once did he tell a story where he was demeaning any of the people in the story. He lifted them up. He showed how strong women can be. Like the Dora Milaje is
Yes.
one of the strongest groups in the MCU. And the
Seriously.
way that they were portrayed is almost how I think a lot of us see the women in our families. You know, we talked a lot about representation in this film and why it mattered so much, and especially over the last couple of years with everything that went on, you know, what this film meant to so many people. I know that there's a lot of criticism out there, but Marvel is just knocking it out of the park when it comes to how it's representing different cultures. You know, most recently we saw it with Miss Marvel.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
there was a lot of context about how, are there bad people in every culture? Yeah, absolutely. But Miss Marvel did a really great job of showing that not everyone is like that. Black Panther like meant a lot to me. Like the story between T'Challa and T'Chaka like just connected with me like on a whole different level. And so I was sad for Chadwick Boseman when he passed, not just as a person, because, you know, he was, you know, because of what he was silently going through while he was still filming all of this. Like that to me is like a real life hero. That's beyond
yeah.
the Black Panther, right? That's just
The
like,
strength.
that's a
Exactly.
like hero right there, right?
Yep.
And so that, like, to me, losing him meant like losing somebody that represented a community that badly needed that type of representation. And so it was clearly seen in the film. So the fact that they're giving him like a funeral at the beginning, not just the character, like that funeral is not for T'Challa. that funeral is for Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah.
It's just
That's
labeled
what
as
I'm saying,
T'Challa
yeah.
because it's the film. But for everyone that worked on that film and grew close to him, like, that funeral is not for T'Challa. That is for Chadwick Boseman.
Agree.
And so that representation matters a lot. And so now the additional representation with the character that Tenoch Huerta's playing, dude, when I saw him turn around in that headdress with the jaguar and like the feathers, I was like,
Pretty epic.
dude. I like
Coming out of the water.
goosebumps. Like,
It was cool, man.
I can't.
That's why I
Cool.
text you
like,
immediately.
I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready.
Freaking goosebumps, dude. Like, there was that chill that came inside of you that I've probably seen that trailer like 10, 15 times at this point. And every time that I see it, I get the chills, right? And I get it. Look, somebody's going to be a villain here. You know, and who's going to be like the full-blown villain? Is it going to be the Atlanteans? Who knows? But there's a whole story that can be told here. Because in short, Namor was, believe it or not, the actual very first in-print mutant that Marvel ever told the story for. So, yeah, we got an inkling of it in Miss Marvel, but Namor's technically the very first mutant. So this could be the way to recatapult that story. And Namor's background, like, all the Atlanteans are blue because whatever, James Cameron. So all the Atlanteans are blue.
You like that? You
but,
like that call out?
In water.
Yeah, I love it, dude. Yeah, of course. But Namor is, I think in the comics, he's got a human father and an Atlantean mother. I believe that in the film they're flipping that. I think it might be an Atlantean father and a human mother. But that's why his skin tone is different than the rest of the Atlanteans that you see in the trailer.
Nice.
And
I
so,
just figured that out.
Yeah, and so it could be that the Atlanteans are in a power struggle with him because he's king, and so they don't want him to be king because, you know, he's a mudblood or whatever, you know, what bad Harry Potter reference.
Hey.
But, you know, if he's not a full-bred, you know, Atlantean, they might want to overtake it. And so maybe they start beef with Wakanda. Because traditionally in the comics, Black Panther and Namor have had a lot of fights. Like, they've had a beef for years in the comics. So it could be that he starts it. It could be that the other Atlanteans start it, or like he doesn't want to fight them because they just lost their leader, and like maybe he wants to connect with them, and they're like, oh, well, this vibranium is ours, but the Wakandans are claiming the vibranium. I don't know what the story's gonna be. But towards the end of that trailer, it's freaking emotional, dude, because there's floods happening, there's fires happening. Like, it looks like
just
all
disasters.
of Wakanda's being submerged in the water.
I know, Melissa was talking about Endgame. I'm like, dude, the trailer for Black Panther's already got me.
Right?
Yeah, we don't even have to wait till the end of Phase 6 for these Avengers movies. Like,
I feel like
we're
I'm
going to
gonna
hit
start
hard at
crying
the end
now.
of Phase 4. Yeah, the end of Phase 4 is going to be super emotional. So it's, I don't know. There's so much imagery in this one. I mean, we're introduced to Riri Williams. There's, there was a lot of people translating all of the text that was in the throne room, and I think it was translated. There was, so there was a couple scenes from the trailer, and there was a couple of leaked photos from the set where they were showing the throne room not as the film was. And so people were able to piece that together. They translated the Wakandan text. And if we read it all together, it says, "Rest in power, King T'Challa, our hero. 'Twas an honor, Wakanda forever." So that's what the entire set of pillars says inside of the throne room.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Dang,
so
that's
I'm
heavy.
telling you, there's there's I mean, that's like super early in the trailer, right? Like there's all these, like, there's shots of different characters. Oh, and that's not even it, okay? That's like, it's not even just a trailer. It's the fact that, like, right before they started this presentation, Kevin Feige's all like, all right, well, we've talked about the past. we've talked about the future. Now let's talk about forever. And the lights go out.
Yeah.
Come on, dude.
I didn't know
Really?
that's how you dropped it.
Really? Okay, so then the lights go out, right? And then they follow it with a live performance.
Yeah.
All right? They follow it with a live performance by Baba Mal and Masamba Diop. Okay, and they're playing the drums and they're singing, and he's on the soundtrack. Like he plays a big role in making this soundtrack sound so authentic and super emotional. So they're singing. They have all these drummers and dancers coming out in the middle of Hall H, and then they go up to the stage, and then they introduce Ryan Coogler. That's how
It
they
was
introduce
amazing.
That's how they introduced this section. That's how they introduced the trailer for Wakanda Forever.
Yep.
Come on.
It was beautiful, man.
Come on.
You just saw them go down the aisles. It was nice.
I know.
Deep breaths.
I know. Couple that with how emotional the first 5 seconds of the freaking trailer were.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
I mean, side note, if there's anyone going to take on, Wakanda, it's going to be people that can ride whales. That was pretty.
Oh,
that was
dude.
pretty intense in the trailer.
Look.
I'm like, dude, I'm scared of the ocean, and I can't imagine people riding whales. I mean, that's
dope.
That's pretty epic.
I've seen people do it with
pretty epic.
dolphins. I've seen people do it with
But a
dolphins,
whale.
but never a
Like a
whale.
whale.
That's just craziness.
Yeah, and it's like a full group. Like, forget your submarines. I got a whale.
Yeah.
Right?
And who knows? Namor probably knows if Megalodon is real at this point. And so if at some point we just see this dinosaur-esque whale
Come out.
or shark.
Oh,
What is Megalodon
no.
supposed to be? A shark or a whale?
A shark.
A combo
I
shark
believe,
whale dinosaur thing?
Yeah. We'll see
A
that.
schlark?
Yeah,
A
like
schlark?
look, if Megalodon appears somehow and just like gobbles up Wakanda, like we got some problems.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Confirmed.
Crossover to the max. Confirmed. I had to bring some levity. Sorry, it was too heavy, man. It was heavy.
Well, I mean, look. All right, so let's cap it off with this. So there was a lot of really heavy stuff. There was a lot of action scenes. There's a lot of speculation about who the villain is going to be in this, whether it's going to be Namor, whether it's going to be somebody else on that ship that they're attacking. But more importantly, at the end, we get a tiny glimpse before they fade to black and they say Wakanda Forever. And that is someone in the Black Panther suit. Who is in the Black Panther suit?
Yeah. Don't know. Excited though. We
Is
shall
that-
know. We shall find out later.
When is that in the movie? That's what I'm like. When is that in the movie? Is that early, late, start? Oh!
Yeah, yeah. So here's the thing. I've always thought it was going to be Shuri, because in the comics, Shuri takes the
Yeah,
mantle
a lot
of
of
the
people.
Black Panther, when T'Challa's not around. And then somebody sent me a video that was posted by New Rockstars where they said, dude, you have to hear the theory at the end of this video, how he thinks that the person in the Black Panther costume could be Killmonger.
He's not alone.
Yeah. So it's an
Not a
interesting
fan.
theory. It's an interesting theory because
That guy, he's going to steal it because even in What If, he doesn't play good. And I'm using What If as like my Bible of phase 5 and 6 right now. And I'm like, no, that cannot happen.
So I mean,
that's the villain. That would be the real villain to me.
yeah. So it's an interesting theory because you're right. And What If, what he does to Tony is just unforgivable.
I would hope you'd agree.
Yeah.
Heyzen,
No.
seeing how
I
much
mean,
you have
I
love
did
for
not
Tony.
like anything that he did to Tony in What If. So I agree
Just
with
saying.
you. I also agree with the fact that Killmonger is an interesting character because he fought for what he thought was right, and he fought for what he thought was rightfully his. But while, he did it I feel like he is proud of being a Wakandan. And so, one, Killmonger's gone, right? He's no longer around either. So if anybody ever brought him back, they would have to go to the ancestral plane and bring him back. And so it's not unseen because it's exactly what they did with T'Challa, right? So,
Exactly.
okay, so now we have that established. Can that happen? Yes, it can. Do they have the flower? They don't. But Shuri's super smart. So her and Riri can technically recreate this genetic flower to somehow get to the ancestral plane and bring back Killmonger. I mean, theoretically speaking, can they technically, like, it? There is a flaw in that storyline because obviously if they could do that, wouldn't they want to go get T'Challa back? So there's going to be like this little bit that they're going to have to explain as to why they don't go back for T'Challa and they go back for Killmonger instead. So it's okay. That's fine. So let's say that they do it.
That's a lot.
Could it be him that starts the beef and the war with the Atlanteans because he's like, no, I'm the king, the vibranium's mine, and that's what starts everything? Like maybe they have the funeral, they bring him back because they need a Black Panther, you know, and then the fighting and everything begins. So you're like what you said earlier, like we don't know when that happens. Is that at the beginning? Is that at the end? Like when does that scene happen? And it's an interesting question because it sets up a lot, you know, as far as what's happening in the film. Because I doubt that we're going to go 3/4 into the film and then finally get a Black Panther.
Yeah.
Well, I shouldn't say that because it was 3/4 into the film when all of a sudden we saw Captain America wielding Mjolnir. So,
Who knows?
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. I think there's going to be a lot of speculation about who.
No me gusta.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to throw the question out to everybody listening. Like, who do you think the next Black Panther is going to be? You know, could it be Killmonger? Probably. I have a feeling that it's going to be somebody that already exists. And honestly, like, look, if I could put my money on anyone, like this is kind of an unexpected twist that I don't think anyone's said before. Everybody's saying that it's going to be Shuri. What if Okoye becomes the next Black Panther? Like, she's so awesome leading the Dora Milaje. Like, how awesome would she be if she was the next Black Panther?
She's got backup,
right?
I mean, they're all backup.
Yeah,
but like, she's got legit like.
So I don't know.
I just lit up. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. I'm down.
I don't know. I like, for me, she seems like, I don't know, like she seems like the next person that one is faithful to Wakanda, isn't in it for any personal gain, and is always protecting Wakanda because she believes in it. Like she's the purest of heart, in my opinion, to be the next Black Panther. So I don't know. That's my prediction.
Battle. That'd be cool.
That's a happy thought.
Yeah.
That is a happy thought for me.
So
don't give me those Killmonger vibes up in here. I'm trying to kill my monger mood.
All right, well, I'll tell you what. That's it. That's where we're going to end the episode on. We're going to end it on that thought. We're going to throw the question out to everybody listening. Who do you think is going to be the next Black Panther? Or what are your thoughts on my prediction? Do you think it's plausible? And that's it. Any final thoughts on anything that we talked about?
Nope.
All right, time to wrap it up. Here we go. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep moving forward, and always remember to pass on the magic. Have a fantastic week, everyone.
Bye.
Everything's gonna be alright. Oh, yeah.
Part of the Podketeers Network.